Hi, my name's Cy Horton and I'm a Senior Sales Engineer for Matterport. During this short video, I'd like to show you how we can use the Matterport point cloud to take into ArchiCAD to then convert into a 3D model. So once you've captured a space using a multitude of hardware devices, that automatically gets uploaded to the Matterport cloud, processed, and the result being a Matterpak is automatically generated. Now, depending on your subscription, these are chargeable. Once you've downloaded your Matterpak, it contains a number of files. Two key ones being an XYZ file, which is a point cloud, and an OBJ file, which is a mesh. And we can use either of these files to take into a multitude of different CAD systems. In this particular instance, what we're going to do is show you how to take the XYZ file and import it into ArchiCAD to convert that into a 3D model. So here we have a copy of ArchiCAD 25 installed on my machine. The first thing we do is to create some layers that we can store our point cloud on when we bring in our various pieces of information. So firstly, I'm going to set up a layer that's called one_point cloud, so I know I can turn this on and off. Then we're going to create another one, which is going to be our survey wall. So I know that when I look at it, I can isolate my survey walls from my existing point cloud data. Now we need to import the point cloud. So we go to the File menu and the Interoperability option, and in here we have the option to import point clouds. There are two key options that we can import, either an E57 file or an XYZ file. In this particular example, I'm going to import an XYZ file. So select the file, click Open. Now in this dialog box here, you can see within an XYZ file we have columns 1, 2, 3 for our XYZ position, and columns 4, 5 and 6 for our RGB or red, green, blue. And all we need to do is make sure the corresponding coordinates here match the columns here, and the corresponding RGB colors here match the columns here as well. Click OK. We can give it a name, so we're just going to call it point cloud, and then we can either create and then drop it in afterwards, or we can create and place. Now depending on the size of your point cloud here will depend on how big and how long it will take. ArchiCAD actually has a point cloud limit of 4 gigabytes. So if you're doing a multi-story building where you've captured each floor, you may have to either decimate that point cloud or bring them in potentially as different files and stack them on top of one another or into different models. So I'm just going to place this point cloud at the origin and place it on the ground floor. So here you can see our point cloud has been brought in. I'm just going to select it and move it into the center roughly. Now when we're working with point clouds, it actually creates a GDL object. So it's not individual points, it's saved as a GDL object. So you can see as I select it here, I've got my GDL object active up here that I can go in and modify the settings. The first thing I generally do is go and look firstly at a perspective view to make sure that the point cloud has come in and I can see everything that I was anticipating. Secondly, I'll probably go to an elevation and make sure it's dropped it bang on my ground level, which it has. I've got my first floor story here. I'm just going to modify that, zoom in a little bit, right click and do edit stories, and I'm just going to drag that down so it snaps roughly to the ceiling level. So about there will do, and click OK. So we've now got our first floor and our ground floor set up. Now when we go back to the plan view, in here you can see that when we're looking at the view we can't really identify where all the internal walls are. So we need to modify that and modify our clipping view. As I've already mentioned, because this is a point cloud, we need to go into the object settings. But before we do that, I'm just going to make sure that this point cloud is on the point cloud layer so I can turn it off. Go into my object settings. One thing to note, if you've got a massive file or point cloud in here, just be careful what viewing mode you're viewing in up in the top right. If you have it on 3D and it's a big point cloud, it could take an awful long time to generate the image in there as preview. So generally just leave it on the plan view and it'll be nice and quick. In here you can see the top plane height is 1100 and I want to modify that. So just check in the box. I'm actually going to set that at 1200, and then the second one I'm just going to set it at a thin slither of 5 millimeters, so 1195. I do have the option here to show this point cloud on multiple stories, but for the purposes of this video it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to click OK. And now you can see I've got a nice clean point cloud. So I'm ready to start tracing over that. So first thing we'll do is we'll start off with the walls. Go to the wall tool, double click. We could create a generic shell, or I'm just going to choose a double block plastered here. I'm just going to cheat a little bit rather than playing around with the settings too much and just make this a 150 wall. Again, I could go in and modify the settings, but I used to know ArchiCAD very well. I've forgotten a lot over the years, but for the purposes of this video, it shows the principle more than anything. So my home story is going to be my ground floor, and we're linking into one story above that, so that's going to be our first floor. So that determines the height of the wall. And as you know, if you come in here and put it in as not linked, you can specify the height of the wall yourself. Click OK. So now all we need to do is start tracing around the outside of the wall. At the moment, I've got this set on a single wall. I'm just going to have it continuous. And also I need to set it to make sure I'm drawing on my survey wall layer that I previously set up. And then when we're ready, just using the symbols in ArchiCAD, we can start to trace around and snap onto the point cloud and work our way around. Now here comes a case in point of when 90% of the success of tracing over something like this happens on site. You saw there that I've missed the left-hand flank of this fireplace. Had I put the scanner over here, I'd have picked that up. But also here, this is actually a bay window. My bad, when I captured the space, I forgot to open the curtains, so I couldn't see the walls. So for the purposes of this, I'm just going to cheat a little bit and make sure the bay window goes in. So there we have all our walls completed. So we'll first go and double check in the 3D view to make sure we can see those walls. And it's good here we can see some coincidence of surfaces that shows we're tight on the point cloud, so we've traced it rather well. Again, I can just turn off the layer for my point cloud and see that we've got everything in there. Probably the last thing I'll do is go back into the ground floor and use my favorite tool of all time in ArchiCAD, which is the Magic Wand tool. So just selecting a floor slab here, I literally just hold down the space bar, click in each space, go back to the 3D view, and instantly I've got my floors in there as it's traced around that internal area. So that's the basic workflow from scanning a space, uploading it to mymatterport.com, letting it process, downloading your Matterpak, importing your XYZ file into ArchiCAD, setting up your slice in the settings of the GDL object, and then using the tools within ArchiCAD to trace over the point cloud. Thank you for watching. I hope that's been of use.